You may have noticed more than a couple videos on YouTube about how to write songs like Taylor Swift or Billie Eilish, how to sound design like Trent Reznor, how to do whatever Kid Rock is doing. And I get why those videos exist. The creator gets to kind of latch on to the name recognition of the artist and use that to propel them in the algorithm and get more people to click on it. I get that. And studying how other people do things is a really valuable learning tool. But I don't see a lot of videos talking about how to actually sound like you. And in a digital world where basically everybody has the access to create basically anything, I think cutting through the noise is an issue that people talk about a lot, but it's not something I hear addressed of how to actually do that. How are you supposed to figure out what your sound is going to be without just writing the same thing over and over? What if you're writing for multiple different instrumentations or genres? Let's say, as a random example, you write a lot of solo piano music, but also like synthesizers. Well, then I guess you would need some kind of musical glue to hold everything together, but it's still deep enough to allow you the flexibility to continuously explore and reinvent yourself. And the one thing that I've found to be that kind of glue in my own music is my background in harmony. Harmony touches everything we do as composers, so it can be a unifying force to help you sound like you, regardless of what instrumentation or genres you might be exploring. If you think about bands that have a certain sound that's very quickly identifiable, let's say Queens of the Stone Age or Nine Inch Nails, they have their own kind of harmonic language that they've developed. They have certain scales or certain modes that they've discovered through experimentation that they favor. Now, a lot of those bands didn't arrive there through an intense study of harmony, but there's still intentionality behind their choices. At some point, they made a choice to explore just how much creativity they could wring out of a particular scale or a particular self-imposed limitation, which really, that's all a scale is. It's choosing which notes to play and which notes to leave out. So there's this understanding in harmony that what you don't do is just as important as what you do.
Show the blues scale up and down.
The blues scale is... But I started saying, what if I take things out and I go...
Yeah, this is something I wanted to ask you about, because what the hell are you doing?
Just because some artists get there intuitively through years of experimentation, it doesn't mean that there's nothing to be gained from studying harmony, because sometimes we can exit a rut much faster if we have some sort of deeper background in what we're doing, just by learning a few new techniques and ways of thinking about things. Because to develop our own harmonic language, we have to be aware that different harmonic languages exist. And the only way that we can sort of broaden our harmonic palette is by listening to a lot of different harmonic languages and then experimenting of how we can incorporate those into our own work.
When did you figure that one out?
When I was 13, and I'm still doing it now.
That's amazing. See?
This really hit me back in high school when I was starting to explore the works of Prokofiev. It always struck me how no matter what the characteristics of the piece I was playing, it could be very melodic and slow. It could be very fast and energetic, aggressive. I could always tell that it was Prokofiev through his use of a particular harmonic language. He was consistent within that language. In his case, he was using a lot of kind of angular polychords that I found to be really attractive and fascinating. My thought was always, how is he doing all of these things? And it wasn't until years later when I learned about polychordal harmony that I began to understand what he was doing, that he had his own limitations in place. So the language glued his works together, and he could get an incredible amount of variation, an incredible range of emotions and moods from that harmonic language that he had crafted in his own way. In college, I got very much into Olivier Messiaen, which I've mentioned on this channel before, and same thing, I could always quickly identify his work by his use of language, even though it was an incredibly different sounding language to Prokofiev. The same was true for Hindemith. The same was true for Ravel, though they used their own individual, unique languages in their own unique ways. If you'd like to learn a bit more about specifics of harmonic languages and specific techniques that I like to use when I think about harmony, I made a free resource for you. It's a free guide on harmony down in the description below. So once we've experimented with a number of different musical languages, harmonic languages, we can start to pick and choose what we like from each one and incorporate it into our own voice. But at that point, the challenge can become just writing the same song, the same piece, the same track over and over. And this is fed by pandering to algorithms, the constant pressure of doing what has already worked in the past. But to me, that's actually part of the fun of being an artist, is that constant battle with our own restlessness, which I think all artists kind of intrinsically have. There's this dissatisfaction that comes when I feel like I'm getting stagnant and just doing what I know works over and over. And that's what pushes us to try new things and to push boundaries a little bit. Even if it may feel like a gamble that might not work, that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes gambling exciting. So there is a ton to learn when you start digging into harmony, but that's good. It means that there's a ton of ideas waiting for you once you start to mine them out of this incredibly rich resource. If you want to stand apart from the noise today that we all have been complaining about because everyone has access to everything, try doing harder things, because most people will not. If you are willing to do something that requires just a little bit of extra work, then you will set yourself apart from the crowd, because most people will not be willing to stand up to any kind of resistance at all. I'm in this restless stage as an artist myself at the moment, because I'm intentionally going back to the well of ideas, the well that is my background in harmony, to remind myself of the things that kind of got me where I am and can get me out of a rut. So this video, all of the resources that I've been doing on harmony, and the videos I've been doing talking about harmony and specific techniques lately, are kind of for myself as well, and I just share them so that hopefully you can get something out of it too. The one thing that I've noticed in my own work is that my solo piano pieces tend to be far more harmonically rich or harmonically interesting than my more electronic stuff, and that's a gap that I'm always trying to bridge, although it's sort of the nature of the instruments used. Sometimes you just need to sit still and let the sound design do the heavy lifting. So you cannot be as active harmonically, you cannot be as active in terms of the actual musical ideas themselves. But I would still like to think that there are things that I do, regardless of what medium I'm writing in, that sound like me. They're somewhat unique to me regardless of the instrumentation. And I really feel like it's my background in harmony that has given me that foundation, or that sort of glue that kind of holds everything together for me today. Now, if you'd like to watch a video with a more kind of tactical, nitty-gritty approach to chord progressions, you can watch that right here, as I've been talking about harmony a lot and will continue to do so over the next few weeks.